This conference will now be recorded.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you all for arriving to this incredible webinar focused on, is your 401k safe? My name is Kandyce Jones. I am the Senior Managing Partner at Steiner. We're all here today in search of the truth. So let's get started.
Okay.
We're going to begin by going over a list of important facts. The first question I would like to ask everyone is, does anyone know who created the 401k? The truth is that it was the federal government. And the reason for that was to create tax revenue. Now that we know that the federal government created the 401k, deferred tax will come due when? Meaning, when will I pay that deferred tax? The answer, you will do so when you begin to take withdrawals or begin to take your income from your 401k. Now, I'm sure some of you may have not thought about that, but the answer to the question is this is not tax-free. This is income tax based on your earnings each year as you take money from your 401k and other income that you may have. Now, the next question most people are concerned about and who have experienced having a 401k, and I'd like to know by show of hands, has anyone lost money in their 401k? Yeah. Well, that must have really upset you. You probably felt and wondered, how could something like that happen? Well, because it's tied to the market and the volatility that goes along with it. We all know that the stock market goes up and then it goes down. And when it does well, it goes back up again, and then it will go down. The key reason that we put on this webinar is to ask everyone, is your 401k safe? The answer is no. Is there a safe alternative to the 401k? Well, the good news is that there is, but I'm going to answer that a little bit later in the webinar. Now, before we go on any further, I would like to introduce our speaker and my colleague, Brandon Nieves. Brandon Nieves has over 20 years in the financial services industry. In that time, he has specialized in risk management planning, 401k accounts, self-employed pensions, and equity funds. He has been a member of the President and Directors Club for multiple years, back to back, for his client services and retention of the accounts he oversees. Having been an eyewitness to good, bad, and ugly markets, Brandon's overriding philosophy is simple. A proper financial foundation is built on wealth efficiency, risk management, control, and tax diversification. He is a true professional. It is an honor to introduce to you Brandon Nieves. Brandon.
Thank you, KJ. I really appreciate that intro. Hello, everyone. As you know, my name is Brandon Nieves. I am the Senior Managing Director here at Steiner. And today we're going to talk about distribution. Now, why distribution? Well, because distribution is the income that all of us are going to live on in the future. It's the whole purpose of why people are saving and investing money. And distribution is going to reveal the truth about how well you invested and you saved throughout the years. So it's a pretty important thing to look at. But I'd like to ask everyone a question on distribution, because the answer to this is really going to signify where you should actually have your invested money placed in. Who believes that taxes are going to be higher, lower, or the same in the future? Anybody?
It's going to be higher.
Going to be higher, right? It's funny. I ask that question all the time and I get the same response. But let me ask you this. Why do you think taxes are going to be higher? Any reason?
Debt, country debt.
Give you one. It's one word, math. It's math. Simply because right now, the U.S. national debt is $30 trillion. And as a country, we make about $27 trillion a year. So in lies a problem with the contrast between those two numbers. You see, essentially, the GDP, that's the gross domestic product, that's the government's, that's the amount of funds that they have available to them for taxation. Now, if those debts are increasing at a faster rate than which the government can tax the gross income by, then the only way they're going to make up the difference is they increase the percentage of which they're taxing the gross income by. And then you throw in Social Security and Medicare, and now you're looking at about $166 trillion. 401k, IRA, 403b, 457, simple IRA, SEP IRA, pension plans, all these accounts are government sponsored. It is the greatest bond fund they've ever created for themselves because they know that these are ready funds that they can immediately have available to them for taxation. Think about it for a moment. They give you a tax deduction on the seed money, but then in the harvest, when the harvest is fully ripe, they're going to tax the entire harvest and they're going to tax the seed money too, because they're going to get back all the amount of money that you deferred. So the biggest thing is, and I always tell people, when you want to look at different accounts, you want to judge them based on what's the objective of what you're trying to accomplish with that account. If income is the outcome, then the best way to judge an investment is based on how that investment produces income. The accumulation account is not the important thing. It's really based on how the income stream is going to come from that accumulated account. Does that make sense? Now, what I want to show you next is an illustration on how this works, because most of the time, most people, when they look at their investments, they're only seeing that critical mass of capital, and that's all they see. But they never get an opportunity to see how that's going to function when they start to withdraw money, because that's going to reveal the truth about how that asset is going to function over time. So what I want to show, if that illustration can come up, and this is on, her name is Jane Fonda. And one thing also too, you're gonna find out that there are 4 types of risks that you got to be aware of. You got market risk, tax risk, and inflationary risk. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull this up. Okay. Okay. I'm having here, okay, here we go.
I have it available, Brandon, if you want me to pull it up if you got it. Great.
Yeah, well, no, I got it now.
There you
Okay,
go.
I got it now. There you go. Okay.
Okay.
So right now, what we're looking at here is this is an individual who's got $65,000 in the 401k plan. She is putting $12,500 a year into the plan, and she has got a matching contribution that she's getting from her employer at 6%. So he's putting in another $750 a year into the plan. Now, at the end of those 15 years, how much does she have? She's got $553,656. So how much of that is actually hers? Well, it's not the full 550. It's not the full 553. It's actually less. What she owns is $420,000. $132,000 belongs to the IRS. But some people say, well, I wouldn't take the whole money, the whole amount of money out at once. Exactly. Well, that's why you'll end up paying a little bit more, because you see, now this is how you want to look at any type of plan you're putting money in for income purposes. Now, you notice here, when you take out $43,715, I want everybody to look at box 4. Box 4 is what you want to look at. You see that she's pulling $43,718 out, but if you look at box 3, she's literally got to withdraw $57,524 just to net $43,715. That is a difference of $13,806. She just lost that right off the bat. But now, every single time she withdraws that money of $43,000, she continuously has to draw $57,000. What do you notice at the end? If you look at column 4, where does it go? It goes nowhere. It eventually just ends. She's out of money in just 12 years, and the tax rate was the same as it was during the accumulation phase. She lost the entire account, and she spent $165,671 in taxes if you look at column 7. So she invested altogether in this account, as we can see here, altogether she invested $187,000 that produced $524,625 in income. But now, there's something else that we also have to take into consideration, because this is a linear return that you're seeing year in, year out, year in, year out. Now, in real life, that's not always going to be the case. In real life, you're going to experience market deviations or market losses, okay? As KJ said earlier, the market goes in 3 different directions. It goes up, bull market, goes down, bear market, and sometimes it goes sideways, which is a channeling market. In this case, now we're going to look at, and I want you to really pay attention to this next phrase, because you might have heard it before, maybe not, but this next thing is called sequence of return risk. Now, what does that mean? Well, essentially, sequence of return risk is the danger of you pulling out money from an account based on the returns that it's getting. And if you pull money out when the market is negative, you are now literally taking money from the account, and that money is no longer there to actually go on the rebound the following year if the market goes up, because you actually already took that income out. You created a negative return from the onset. And now if the market rebounds, it's already gone. That money is not going to be there to actually experience that growth. Now let's just look as an example here, a 10-year period with 1 negative year, okay? Now we're going to look at this and we're going to say, okay, what is this going to look like? And so now what we did here is I only added 1 negative year to this account. 1 negative year. So if you notice, the account value, we did the yield a little bit higher, 6.5%. And now in the 5th year, we get a negative 38%. Now the account value ran out in 9 years.
Brandon, could you make that slide a little bigger for
Sure.
all of us to read? It's a little hard for me. Great. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
So yeah, so this is actually showing you, now look at year 4. You got $425,897. But in the next year, the account value dropped to $226,633. Now, if she had to pay taxes of 38%, but she now has 226,633. That's not a negative 38%. That's actually a negative 47%. And then the following year, she's got now 178,715 in the account. That's no longer a 47% negative return. That now has become a 58% negative return. Just one negative year in a 10-year period. Do you know in the last, since 1936, all the way to 2021, there's been 8 10-year periods. Do you know how many times there's only been one negative year in a 10-year period in the last 86 years? It's only happened twice. The other occasions, it was 3 times where the market had 3 negative years. Other times it had 4 negative years. So the likelihood of having a negative year in retirement is very, very large, and you have to pay attention to that. Not only that, but also the taxes. So what's the solution to the problem? Well, basically, you have to mitigate market risk. So when the market goes down, you don't experience a loss. You have to mitigate tax risk. If Jane here had an asset where she didn't have to pay the taxes on, she would literally just net 57,000. And that income stream would have lasted a lot longer if she just avoided the taxes alone. So this right here gives you a snapshot of how distribution works in a span of time. And I will tell you that 401ks and IRAs and all these different accounts, especially the 401k, it was not engineered for distribution. It's an accumulation account only. That was what it was engineered for. And now we can see that it's been served as the main course for retirement income. Next, I'd like to introduce our next speaker here. This is Brian Callahan, and Brian is the author of the book, Don't Get Bullied by the Bank. And the best-selling book, he is an investment banker, also a financial advisor. He's been in the industry for over 15 years. And I'd like to introduce Brian. Brian.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you. Great job, Brandon. Great job, KJ. So I just wanted to touch base to a couple things that you guys said that I thought was great. KJ opened us up beautifully when you mentioned that these programs were put together by the government, right? So the investment that you are making for your family with the expectation of having the yield you would have to take care of your family into the future is one thing. But I don't think people understand that the partnership that they end up with the government is going to cost them so much later on when they're so dependent on those dollars. And Brandon did a great job in showing you how these portfolios can reach a point where they run out of money. So the question is going to be, who's going to take care of you and your family when that time comes? And so that's what had me go about starting to write the book. And what I was seeing in private wealth management was that every family was being given some combination of a stock and bond portfolio. So your monies were in the market and at risk. In 08, when the market went down, we had 6 years of point-to-point down market, before which time the monies equated and became equal again to where they were before. As we get older, we have to be honest with ourselves and say, how many 6-year windows do we have where we can afford that down market? And from where will we draw funds to live our lives and take care of our families? So what we're talking about today creates an incredible bucket for people that have invested in 401ks. We don't want to scare you either. You know, you've invested in them, they have a place, but it might be worth looking at an alternative for the moment where you'll be able to access your monies. You'll have downside protection, you'll have upside growth, and you'll have flexibility, frankly, that the government won't give you. And you also have this thing built on a chassis that is life insurance that will help you with, as a family, continue to, you know, protect your family and protect your legacy, right? And Brandon spoke to something else I thought was incredibly important. I speak to it in my book, and I refer to it when we look at these portfolios, depending on what happens in the market and how they are constructed from the beginning. Mr. Miserable has a portfolio, much like what Brandon described, where the funds run out at a certain point, and that's a problem. But Mr. Happy has something that the funds will continue to pay out until which time God takes him home. So, you know, who do you want to be, Mr. Miserable or Mr. Happy, right? And and the other thing that also had me write this, and I'll leave you on this note here, And that is what no one's talking about, and we've talked about it here. I know I did want to share a quote with you as well, is the risk. And so one of the risks not being talked about oftentimes by your bankers, your financial advisors, etc., we talk about market risk. They're not talking about longevity risk. While the markets have been coming up with all these exotic strategies within which to invest, where you're putting your monies at risk in the market, modern medicine has been doing its part to keep you alive longer. So I often open up a presentation saying, ladies and gentlemen, I have good news and bad news. You're going to live to be 90, 95, or 100. Gentlemen, bad news, you're going to go first. What's the plan to take care of the caretakers when the caretakers can no longer take care of themselves? And this is a part of that strategy. The quote I wanted to read you was from Benjamin Graham, who's one of the partners and mentors of Warren Buffett, who's unequivocally known as the best investor in the markets. And he says this: the essence of portfolio management is the management of risks, not the management of returns. To Brandon's point, all good portfolio management begins and ends with this premise. So this is a strategy where it can on one hand sound too good to be true. You get downside protection, you get upside growth, deferred taxes, and you have the power to choose when and where you take these dollars out. And it's a very underutilized tool, and I want to credit William Steiner for really building an initiative where we're creating an army of people who want to get the word out, because it's a well underplayed strategy that should be in most people's portfolio. So with that, I will say thank you for having me. William, great job for putting this together, and I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. Thank you. KJ, I'd love for you to complete and take us away now, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, William. Thank you, Brandon. And I want to thank everyone again for arriving to this very important call. So now the question is, let's talk about the alternative, right? Tax-free retirement with no market downside. Not only does it exist, but it is here. Who ensures you from you ever losing a dime, ever losing your retirement savings from the market? W.H. Steiner. The answer is market protection insurance. MPI. Now, let me say that one more time, because I know most of you have never heard of this phrase. Market protection insurance. We like to refer to it here at W.H. Steiner as MPI. W.H. Steiner has found a way to protect retirement savings from ever losing a dollar in the market. A proprietary index is the secret sauce, combined with the expertise of knowing wealth building secrets that have remained a secret for way too long. Now, let's go ahead and focus on the benefits. That's right, benefits. Would they not be important to you? Tax-free savings? A word we've heard before, right? Tax-free savings. Market protection, never losing a dollar when the market goes south. Market protection. Leave money for your heirs. also tax-free. Benefits that protect even if you were ever diagnosed with an illness. Imagine tax-free savings, market protection, money to your loved ones, tax-free. And even if you get ill or you're diagnosed with an illness, that would be included on the benefits. Access to your money after 12 months. Now, everyone, we promised to take 25 minutes of your time today. We came here to educate you. We came here to empower you. We came here to share information to open your eyes to know the truth about 401k. We made a promise and we're going to deliver on that promise. And we gave you the facts. Now, we want to thank everyone for participating in this webinar. And we made a promise to you if you attended that we would share Brian Callinan's incredible book. And we would do that either by audio version or a PDF version or a soft cover. So in order to do that, I need everyone now to take your smartphones out, or if you're on a computer, you can just cut and paste the link below. Okay, so once again, please scan the QR code or click on the link. We are also offering all that attended today's webinar your very own 401k illustration or personalized market protection illustration. Or if you wish, we would gladly provide both. Simply click on the link below, the HTTPS, or scan the barcode with your smartphone now. You'll be able to receive your
KJ,
book. Yes?
KJ, I just wanted you to know, my apologies, excuse me. I clicked that link also live into the chat so everyone
Oh,
can click
wonderful.
on it as well. Okay?
Beautiful. Thank you. So there you
You're
have
welcome.
it. You'll also be able to receive your book within 5 to 7 business days. Also, those requesting to receive a 401k or market protection illustration will be contacted by one of us on the panel today, come Monday. We want to thank everyone once again for spending time with us on this Saturday. And remember, market protection insurance, not only does it exist, it's here. Thank you, everyone.